The Ancients World. Chapter 291, The Wish Dungeon 6. I watch Victor walk into the area, which means his group is the last to join us. There were 3 groups, and the second one to arrive after we did has been waiting for an hour for the remaining team with us, which is Victor's. He walks over to the groups and sees that more survived than he'd hoped. Our group is the one that lost the most people in it. Not to any fault of mine. Looks like we have pretty good chances of beating this dungeon. The next boss is going to be tough. It has an invincible state once enraged. That is a rare find. Emerald is still in my backpack, and I feel her shuffle around now and then. I was worried about bringing her along with me, but she's doing just fine. We'll have to defeat the boss before it becomes enraged. That gives us 3 minutes. Everyone equip your best damaging gear. The only creature we're fighting is the boss in the next room. So we don't have to worry about mob control. This isn't even the final boss. It's the second to last boss. The Witch Queen is after this boss fight, but none of these players will be here to see it. Everyone stands up and prepares for the next fight. Jasmine stands next to me and stands out slightly since she doesn't have an inventory. No one notices except me. You new people are so weird, she whispers to me and is adamant that no one hears us. How is it you have an exclusive dimension that you can access anytime you want whenever you want? The sheer illogical nature of this makes me wonder what other strange things you can all do. Our conversation can't be heard over the other ones happening around the group. I chuckle, and I keep my current weapon equipped. I use my best gear all the time. It's who I am and what I do. There is much you don't know about us, Jasmine. It'd take too much time to explain to you in a single setting. She sighs and decides to drop it. I honestly don't know how to broach the subject with her. The truth about us players is pretty unbelievable. I plan on telling her, but I don't know how to explain it. It isn't something that I'm good at. Explaining the actual science to her is impossible cause I don't know it. While Hayley and Jasmine enter the next boss room with the rest of the dungeon party, Sarah and Sally are currently having a nice hot meal in their room. It's the early morning where Sarah and Sally are, and it's still dark where Hayley and Jasmine are. Sarah and Sally are eating a huge breakfast that's loaded with protein. While it isn't the amazing player food that Sally has come to love, it's still plenty good to satisfy the hunger growing in both of them. Sarah and Sally have decided to pass the time on some more fun activities while waiting for Hayley and Jasmine. There is a festival coming to the town tonight and the whole day tomorrow. I watch as Sally devours the food on her plate, and I try my best to keep up. She's got some serious appetite. I don't blame her though. The last time we had an actual meal was when we were in the city of James. I want a meal like this every day. I'm so tired of having to eat rations and dried meat. She talks as she eats, and I can't help myself from chuckling. The saying that you get to a man's heart through his stomach can be applied to women too. We finish our food, and I have to bring up the festival. I want her to have the opportunity to wear another dress. The red one at Jackson's wedding isn't something I want her to wear to the festival. It's more of a subtle thing, and the red dress in my inventory is more of a show. You know there's a festival happening tonight and all of tomorrow. My words immediately grab her attention. Do you want to go with me? I'll even buy you a dress for the event. She's a little speechless. I know enough about her to know she's never been to a festival before. She stops eating and puts her eating utensils down. I'd love to go to the festival with you, Sarah. I'm just a little scared that people will recognize you without your hood on when we're walking around. Damn, I didn't even think of that. The elves have been looking for me, and I have a feeling they're looking for Sally too. If they know, I'm right at the border. It could ruin all the plans we have. I groan as I lean back in my chair. You didn't consider that, did you? I nod my head, and now I feel bad. It sucks that she won't be able to dress up, but we can still go to the festival. I look back at her, and I find the right words. We can still go, but we'll have to wear our hoods and gear. I was hoping you'd get the chance to wear another dress. I don't really know how you feel about wearing a dress, but I know women like to feel beautiful, and dressing up can help that. I wanted to help you feel that way. Sally is self-conscious about her past, and I understand her feeling like that after everything she's been through. I like to see her happy, though, and when she was wearing that red dress, she was glowing. She looks at me with love and is on the verge of crying. This isn't something that I wanted. You can't just say things like that without letting me prepare. Idiot. She whips the tears from her eyes. Saying things like that makes me want to cry. No one ever says things so nice and caring for me. The amount of consideration you give me sometimes makes me want to bawl my eyes out. I'm giving the consideration that any person should given their significant other. She doesn't know this is how you normally treat a person. As this is happening in the border city to the Elven kingdom, the church is meeting to discuss many problems in the war. The main thing being all the infighting on the human side. Many conflicts shouldn't be happening. All of this is causing the monster hordes to gain more and more ground in the war. Since the war started between Zenith and Belvia, the monsters have taken multiple cities and have captured more women to replenish their forces. Saintess Lucy is leading this meeting and is discussing what needs to be done next. I look at the holograms of the leaders around the room. Many are looking more and more exhausted as the days go by. The war that's happening between Zenith and Belvia proves that we're still not united in our efforts to defeat the monster hordes. There are reports that more towns and cities have been taken. We all know what this means, and I don't like the thought. I suggest we use the new weapons that some of the new people have designed for us. The new people have become an invaluable resource. Especially the ones that can create weapons that can annihilate mountains. That amount of power requires a lot of responsibility, and we can't just go around using it whenever we want. The power these weapons can produce is both dangerous and unstoppable. I suggest we take this new push from the monster hordes and test the weapon. To see how viable it really is. I continue to make my case to the rulers still aligned with the church. The coalition isn't here. They're struggling to hold it together as it is. Ever since Jackson up and left, many have been wanting to do the same. Zenith is the first kingdom to have independence from the church or the coalition. It no longer has to answer to a higher governing body. The Pope is here too, but he's quiet. Ever since he's announced his retirement, he hasn't been that active in the discussions. All the leaders and kings in the room nod their heads in agreement, and that marks the first test of the weapon designed by the scientists of the new people population. The meeting ends, and I make my way to my chambers. It's time that I take a break. I need it after all the shit that's happening. Chapter 292, The Legacy Class. I land the last blow on the Witch Queen, and she dies. Marking the first defeat of the dungeon boss since it was discovered. I'm mentally exhausted. Staying awake this long and continuing battle isn't something that I've done before. This is by far the longest I've spent in a dungeon. You did it. You beat the Witch Queen. Jasmine runs up to my side, and she's covered in dirt and dust, just like me. After we beat the boss before the Witch Queen, I took care of the group we came in with. This marks the end of our time in the Wish Dungeon. I look over to the Witch Queen to see her drops, and I see the glow of a powerful class on the ground. I look at Jasmine as she hugs me from the side. Don't waste your time hugging me. Go and get the legacy class. Realization dawns on her, and she slowly stands up. She looks at it with hesitation but walks towards it regardless. I watch her pick it up, and she's enveloped in light. After a few seconds, she's done with her class chants, and a worldwide announcement goes off. Informing all the players that the legacy class has been taken. Worldwide announcement, the legacy class, Last Wish has been taken from the Wish Dungeon. This is a one-of-a-kind class and will be removed from the pool of possible classes. Congratulations to the NPC who's received it. The Wish Dungeon can still be used to find more weapons and armor. There is still a legacy grade weapon yet to be found in the Wish Dungeon. Good luck to all the players in the area of the Wish Dungeon and on the way there. The announcement repeats a few times. I'm grateful it didn't give her name out. This is absolutely amazing. I watch Jasmine jump up and down with excitement. These skills and buffs from this class make my old rare class look like crap. The NPCs have their own ways of viewing their information. Jasmine told me it appears in their lead like a list. It's not in the form of a screen or interface like us players. I stand up and dust the dirt off myself and stretch my body out. This marks the end of our time here. We can head to the inn we've rented and stay an extra day. I want to get some rest before we actually get this trip started up again. We've been in this dungeon for almost 12 hours. It's probably daytime again outside. I'm glad that you're excited. Let's get out of this place and head back to the town. I want to get some good food and get some rest before we start the trip up again. She nods her head, and I can tell she also likes the idea of rest. We head to the back of the boss room, and we walk through a door taking us outside to an area away from the entrance. As soon as we're out, I can hear the screams of Victor in the distance. We make our way in the opposite direction and back towards the city. He won't be able to cause any trouble for us. He's not strong enough. I can't wait to eat and get a good night's sleep for the first time in at least a day and a half of traveling and dungeon diving. Do you think new people will continue to go for the rewards in the Wish Dungeon? She asks a valid question. I'd say that anyone who wants something one of a kind and unique will keep attacking it. There is still a legacy weapon up for grabs in the dungeon. I take a relaxing breath and lay my hand on top of her head. That doesn't concern us anymore. Let's get back to the inn and get some food in us and rest all day and night for tomorrow's trip. It's morning now, and there is a frosty cold rolling into the area. We can see the city from here. We walk back and fill the time with conversations and ideas for food. Jasmine has one of the largest appetites I've ever seen. It's bigger than my dad's, and he ate crazy amounts of food. He was a factory worker, after all. It was the tradition of the day for him. While Hayley and Jasmine continue walking and talking, Sarah and Sally are having their own fun. Sally is loving the idea of going to a festival with Sarah, but there is one problem. It's a festival they know nothing about. Some festivals are specific to certain gods or religions. The same goes in this situation. Some traditions need to be followed, and this could prove troublesome for Sarah and Sally. One of the biggest obstacles is the fact you have to dress in traditional garbs. One that noblemen and noblewomen wear. Nothing is allowed to obstruct the face either. Sally and I both read the pamphlet for the upcoming festival, and I didn't realize how tedious and annoying it is to go to one of these. Why in the hell aren't we allowed to hide our faces? That seems almost intentional. She brings up valid points. This is suspicious by all accounts. It might be safer not to go. However, I want to go with her. I want to have fun with her at a place that isn't related to blood, revenge, or battle. An actual date would be nice. I'm having a serious internal debate right now. Do I take the risks, or do I cancel it? I sigh, knowing that I'm going to regret this, but Sally and I deserve a moment of normality. Even if there is a risk of being discovered, I want this to be something fun and positive. This does change some things, but we're still going. I want to spend time with you that isn't plotting revenge, getting revenge, or in battle. A date, you know. I watch a small blush spread across her face at the mention of the word date. We've never formally used that word between the two of us, but that's what I want this to be. We have a right to something normal for a change. She knows there are risks involved too, but she can't help smiling. The thought of us spending time together and having moments that are like a real couple is sorely missing from our relationship. I really like that idea. How big of a chance of discovery do you think there might be? It depends on who'll recognize me and who'll think I'm just a normal festival goer. Those who've seen my posters placed around by the church might put the pieces together. However, there is no influence of the church this close to the Elven kingdom. So the odds of that scenario happening are slim to none. Now the part that I'm actually worried about. The ones deliberately looking for me. They'll know what I exactly look like, and they'll be quick to notify the Elven authority in the area. I think we blend it as much as we can, and that means we get these garbs. If we don't stick out, no one will be the wiser to know that I'm here. Take away my gear, and I look like a normal man. If I'm wearing similar clothing to everyone else, then there is a very low chance that I'll be found out. This is the best version of the plan, and it's the only one we can really use. We'll have a normal night and a normal date, uninterrupted by any outside influence and anything else related to our mission here. We should go out to one of the local stores and find the required clothes. It's going to cost me more since I'm a new person, but it's worth every bit of money. She has a smile that I've never seen her have before. One that has heartfelt happiness and excitement at the idea of us having an actual real date. One that people have when they're in relationships. I know it's going to be fun. I stand up, and Sally follows along. We make our way to the door and leave. I lock our room behind us. We make it outside the inn, and we both look down the streets to see many decorations being put up for the festival. It's actually beautiful. Let's go and shop. Make sure you keep your hood on. It's still safer for us to do it now. She nods, and we start walking down the street with our hoods up. It's going to be my first festival. Chapter 293, Costs. Sally and I walk into a store that has what's needed for the festival. Every place we've been to has refused to serve us since I'm a new person. The shop we're walking into now is one of the last possible places that can sell decent garbs for the festival. I'm really getting annoyed with people. I don't like that they treat you that way cause you're a new person. If they really knew who you were, they'd give everything to you for free. Sally has grown frustrated with the service that I get as a new person. It's either egregious prices or no service at all. I chuckle at her words as we walk down one of the aisles of the store. I look around and see clothes perfect for the festival, and their prices tags are fair. I can count on these pieces skyrocketing once I try and buy them. It's something that we're dealing with. It sucks that I'm overcharged on everything, but it's not like I don't have the money for it. Just relax and let me know if you see anything that you'd like. Take your time. No reason to rush if we're going to get kicked out anyway. I don't know how long this shunning of new people is going to keep going. It's making the lives of us players harder and harder every day. Eventually, we won't do any shopping at stores that NPCs own. We'll be doing exclusive shopping at player-owned businesses. There aren't enough yet, but I don't think it'll be long until players realize this will be the only solution for a while. There are some really fantastic clothes in here, Sally whispers out as I see her look at a few dresses not pertaining to the festival. I'm not opposed to buying her more dresses. I walk up behind her and look at the dresses she's looking at. They really do look nice, and there's something that I know she'll look breathtaking in. You can pick one of them out, and keep looking for a garb for the festival. She turns around and looks at me with a look that asks me if it's really okay. I nod my head. I need to ask the owner at the front desk if he'll serve my kind. I walk up to the front desk, and the man looks up from his book. He's not happy, but he's willing to hear me out. Are you willing to sell to new people? He sighs and closes his book. He nods his head, and I smile. I'm glad I found one store willing. While Sarah and Sally shop for the clothes needed for the festival, Hayley and Jasmine are currently in their room resting and scarfing down tons of food. They've had a long dungeon dive. They betrayed a group of players and stole the legacy class for themselves. Jasmine now has a powerful sword and magic hybrid class called the Last Wish. Hayley knows they have a long trip tomorrow, and taking the rest of today and sleeping through the night is the best way to rest and replenish energy. Doing what they did isn't something that'll happen many times among the player base. I shovel food into my mouth without care for modesty in the world. My stomach has been growling ever since fighting the Witch Queen. I look up from my plate of food, and I can see that Jasmine is doing the same thing as me. She's shoveling more and more food into her mouth, and barely chewing it. I focus back on my food as my stomach continues to growl in hunger. This is so good. Jasmine gets some words out in between bites of food. I nod my head, and that's all I'm going to do. This is some of the best food I've ever had. Emerald is also eating food off a plate that I put on the floor for her. All of this is costing a fortune, but I have money to burn. Emerald is eating just as fast and desperate as Jasmine and me. Emerald didn't even fight. I feed her regularly, but it's not food this good and fresh. It's usually dry meat, and that isn't very flavorful. We're all going to run out of food faster than any of us wants to admit, but that's a part of having good food. It ends up not lasting that long, and you wish you savored it longer than you had. I shovel the last bit of food on my plate into my mouth. My plate is now empty, and I look over at Jasmine, and she's finishing the last little bit on hers. That hit the spot. She stretches her arms and lays her hand on her stomach. Emerald mews in agreement. I lean back in my chair and release a deep sigh. I'm still hungry, though I am too, and all this food would feed a starving family. I stand up and make my way towards the door to the room. I want the same thing as last time. Their steak is so juicy. I'm getting the same dish this time myself. I don't care about the price. I place the order and pay for the overcharged fee. They said they'll bring it up in a few minutes like last time. I make it back to the room, and I sit in the same chair. It'll be up in a few. My stomach is already growling for me. I can literally hear my stomach growling for more food. This is going to be the only time for us to have anything decent to eat until we reach the city at the southern border to the Elven kingdom. Jasmine's stomach growls, and so does Emerald's. We're all still hungry beyond belief. I'm looking forwards to the next serving. As this is happening with Hayley and Jasmine, the developments in the weapon test the church is doing are coming to an apex. The church has agreed on a target location for the new weapon and is setting up the creation of the new people scientists. Their weapon will be propelled through the air on a rocket, something that has just been introduced to the natives of Gaia. For all accounts, this is a magical version of a thermonuclear weapon. One that will change the tide of the war, but it's up to the church if it's going to be used after this single test. I stand on the edge of the viewing platform from a city overrun by monsters. As the Saintess, I'm supposed to be present for any military weapons test. Today is the day we test the first weapon that the new people scientists have come up with. Why they said we need to be this many miles away is beyond me. We're nearly 500 miles away, and we're all wearing magically enchanted goggles. Can you believe they said we'll need these? I think it's tomfoolery. One of my generals next to me voices his dissatisfaction. All the rulers who couldn't be here are viewing the test via hologram. Ready to fire, mark the countdown. The scientists start pressing buttons on a panel that they made, and the strange-looking tube moves and rises at an angle. 5 4 3 2 1 launch. The tube blasts open, and a long rod being propelled forward by fire shoots out. We have to cover our ears at the horrible noise. We watch the strange device fly through the air and travel all the way to the city. In an instant, an explosion brighter than the sun happens. We all have to duck behind the protective shielding as the wave and debris come flying at us. What the fuck is this? Another high-ranking official screams out as the whole platform shakes, and after a second, it all stops. We all stand up and take a look at the scenery before us. I'm speechless. I've never seen anything like this. There is nothing left of the city. All there is a massive crater and a huge cloud that looks like a mushroom. Lightning is bouncing in its clouds. This is absolutely evil. No power like this should be in the hands of mortals. One of the scientists steps forward and begins writing down the results. Not as powerful as we thought. I feel a pit in my heart and soul open as he says that this is below expectations. As all of you can see, the test is successful, and the enemy has been eliminated. I have to fight the urge to draw my sword and kill him even though he'll come back. These madmen, what have they made? Chapter 294, Progress from All Sides. I grab the new person scientist by the collar, and I point out towards the devastation. What the fuck is all this? This isn't a weapon. I've never seen anything have such destructive power in my life. The fact it's come from the minds of these scientists worries me. What else could be dreamed up and turned into reality? Do you realize what this does to the balance of power? How many things this creation is going to affect? I shake the scientists, but all he does is hold up his hands. One of my generals walks up and places her hand on my shoulder. I drop the scientist, and I step back. I look back out towards the site the weapon went off. It's something you'd only see in your worst nightmares. We were tasked to deliver a weapon that'll change the tide of the war. The scientist fixes his collar and stands up. We've fulfilled our duties. This weapon and the many others like it will win the war against the monster hordes. My body becomes rigid. Did he just say the others like it? He sees my expression and understands. We've manufactured 10 weapons like it, this being the weakest. I don't know why, but I feel sick. My legs give out slightly, and I take a knee. I suck in breaths trying to recompose myself. You're telling us that you've designed 10 other weapons capable of the same. One of the rulers coming through on the hologram decides to speak up first. Everyone looks at the scientist, and he nods his head. This is troubling indeed. What shall we do about it, Saint Lucy? I honestly have no idea what we're going to do. It can't be taken back. It's already been created, and there are other scientists that aren't here that helped build the test weapon. My generals lend me a hand and help me up. This power is dangerous. The ability to turn an entire city into a crater shouldn't be in mortal hands. However, this will win the war against the monster hordes. What we do with this power can't be undone, and I say we wait. That's all I can say at this moment. How do you respond to such a display? How do you know if you are acting responsibly with so many lives on the line? A great burden comes with terrifying power. You don't know who's going to die. I need to discuss this with the Pope. While this is happening at the test site for the new weapon, the war in Belvia is coming to another point that holds great value in the total picture of the war. Jackson and his generals are moving towards the capital city. The last place that hasn't either been surrendered or taken by force. The same capital that Sarah and Sally were in when they were getting the dice of Wayland. Belvia was severely weakened by Sarah and his heist. Ghost Zero, Creature a Man, and Creelder cleaned out the treasure rooms in the heist, walking away from the world for a time. I ride on my horse next to my queen, and she's looking way better than she was in Zenith. She's actually slept during our time of war with Belvia. My king, we should be arriving at the capital in an hour. Should we send scouts ahead to see what the defenses and forces are? Aaron is riding at my other side. I nod my head, and he gives the signal with a wave of his hand. Specially trained scouts leap from hiding spots in the surrounding forest and head towards the capital. They'll report back with any news of what we're up against. I take a deep breath and enjoy the fresh air. What are our casualties before this next battle? I ask the dreaded question any ruler would ask, well, any ruler that'd care. He reads the numbers, and every single time I hear a report, a little part of me dies. These men had families back in Zenith. Wives waiting for their husbands to come home. Children waiting to hug their father again. I want a full plan that'll take care of the widows in Zenith. I don't care how much it costs. Aaron says nothing in response, probably cause he agrees. Tessa reaches over and places her hand on my wrist, and looks me in the eyes. You're doing the right thing. These families are going to need all the help they can get, and I'm sure the men that laid down their lives are proud to have a ruler willing to take care of their families. I know I'm proud. Those words bring little comfort, mainly because I know the men that have died would rather be home with their families instead of watching them from above. I'll not fail these men, and I'll make sure their families have the best care. It won't mean much to the widows. They'd want their husbands back, not something that I can give them. No matter how many houses, money, or care I give. It'll be nothing in comparison to the husband and father they've lost. Some don't have families and only have parents. I'm not going to be able to help them, not like the families. Thank you for saying that, Tessa. I doubt any of the men that have died and their families would agree I let the words out, and she stays silent. Knowing that they're true. Sometimes I hate being king. While this final march is going on towards the capital of Belvia, said King of Balvia has already been assassinated. Gregory has succeeded in covering his footsteps, and no one will know of his involvement in the attacks on Zenith's queen. Gregory has always been the original instigator of this war. Hoping to use the war in Belvia to move his troops to Zenith, only to be foiled by a gut feeling from Jackson. This war has led to nothing other than severing a weak ally for Gregory. A ruler like Gregory is one to be feared but studied as well. Now that the king in Belvia is dead, I can rest easy knowing that there isn't anything that'll lead back to me. Only a few people in my inner circle also know of the true plan, and they'll keep quiet cause it's in their best interests too. What shall we do next, my king? My butler speaks at my side as I look over the balcony and out to my massive city. While this war didn't provide much for me, it has gotten rid of what was causing me problems. My worry is how strong Zenith and the Dryads will be after their conquest is over. I lean on the stone railing and take a deep breath into the cool night. We let the wheel of war turn. More opening will prevent themselves, and we'll be ready. For now, we wait until the storm brewing over Belvia has settled and everything is calm. After that, we'll wait for the storm coming to Zenith. A few of my little birds have told me that I'm not the only one planning to attack Zenith. My butler lifts a single eyebrow at my words. It's indeed true, but it's not a group that I can ally myself with, for they are the enemy of many and friends of few. Amelia, mother of Slayer Zirn. She holds great interest in many parties. Those parties are foolish for thinking they'll not receive retribution. If Slayer Zirn doesn't take care of them, Archangel Michael will. It'd be idiotic allying myself with such individuals. What do you plan to do with this new information? Something so valuable can be worth a lot to individuals in the church and Zenith. My butler brings up a great point, and one that I've been focusing on. I could use the information that I've found to my ultimate advantage. However, my father taught me a very important lesson before I became king. Be patient, and use any opportunity you can to sick your enemies against each other. Going after Amelia is suicide, and trying to frame a group of people won't work when gods are watching. However, Zenith has a blind spot, and that blind spot is their connection to Slayer Zirn. We're going to use that to our advantage. My plan can't be set in motion yet, but when the time is just right. A whisper here and a push there. It's all I need to see my enemies tear each other apart. Chapter 295, Plans Moving Forward. I watch as Sally comes out of the bathroom at our room in the inn. She's wearing a silky beautiful gown that's absolutely indescribable. The dress holds tight in the upper body and flows into a loose wave of fluttering cloth. The black looks over the gown isolate her amazing blonde hair. So how do I look? My mouth is hanging open in total idiocy. I register her words, and I stand up. I have to look at her up and down, but I struggle to find the right words. That good? She sounds so uncertain of herself. I walk forward, and I place my hands on her bare shoulders. She looks into my eyes, and as she does, I lose my breath. She's the most beautiful woman I've ever known. It's brain-stopping, Sally. I can't even describe how it looks on you. Sally is extremely beautiful, and add her elven looks, and you have someone who couldn't possibly know the type of damage she can do to a man with one look. Look at what she's done to me, and I consider myself resilient. I'm not sure if you're allowed to look this good. She chuckles at my words, but I give a serious look. If you draw too much attention it could be bad. I have a smile as I say this. The reason I have a smile is cause I never thought I'd be with a woman who's capable of something like this. To take my breath away. I really like it. Are you sure that it's a bad idea to wear it to the festival? As badly as I want her to have fun and feel beautiful while doing it. This is just too eye-catching. I slowly nod my head, and I can see her disappointment. I'm glad that I bought her multiple gowns to choose from. I'm a little hesitant to see the rest of this as the first one she's trying on. I don't know anything about women and clothes. She turns around to the bathroom, and I want to stop her and tell her to wear it. I can't risk us getting discovered. I walk back over to the bed to sit down and take a load off. I lean back and sigh as I run my hands through my hair. My pride is a little hurt at my reaction. Thought I had better control over myself than that. I looked like some boy who saw his first pair of panties. Sally is the only person to ever do this to me, and I think that says something. I rub my face and stare up at the ceiling. I'm not looking forward to trying on my new clothes after her show. While Sarah and Sally prepare for the festival, there is an interesting development on the war in Belvia. Jackson has just received a letter from Belvia's crown prince stating that the king has been assassinated and they're fully surrendering. There are literally thousands who are happy with this outcome. The main reason being that no more lives will be lost. Jackson is currently marching towards the capital of Belvia with his army. However, it's going to be for the talks over surrender. Not for the siege of the capital city. That has been avoided. To say I was shocked to learn that Belvia's king has been assassinated is an understatement. When the report was handed to me as I rode by my wife's side, I nearly fell off. While this is fantastic news, it does worry me. Someone was definitely in league with Belvia's king. I'm feeling that whoever that someone is, it's the true orchestrator of this war. The silencing of the king speaks volumes. Secrets that didn't want to be shared. I think this is the best way the war could have ended. Tess speaks as we ride next to each other. She's been so strong through this. I know seeing our soldiers die in our names has hit her. Hit her as hard as they hit me. I shouldn't take this for granted for my kingdom. Many families have been spared with this, and so much blood in the name of my kingdom doesn't need to be spilled. I'm glad that this war has ended too, but I'm worried. Tessa looks at me, and I see my other generals look towards me too. All are waiting for me to elaborate. Whoever assassinated the king in Belvia is our true enemy. Once they knew this war was over, they got rid of the only person who knew their secrets. My words dawn on them. This war is over, but I fear another one is coming from whoever orchestrated this one. Who knows what kind of reach they have? My gut is telling me it's Gregory, but I can't accuse him of anything without proof and knowing him. There is nothing to find. The only one that knew anything would have been Belvia's king. Gregory is my strongest possibility, but there are unseen enemies out there. So I should go jumping to conclusions. This is going to require investigating of my own. This jeopardizes my entire kingdom and my future as king. I hear the sighs of the many military leaders around me. They know what I'm thinking based on my looks and mood. Let us fight one war at a time, my king. We'll begin all of that once we're done talking to the Crown Prince of Belvia. Once all of this settles down, that Crown Prince is going to be the new king. Aaron brings up a good point. I've made another new enemy in the man, having been one of the reasons his father is now dead, and the kingdom is in turmoil. I can't imagine what must be going through that kid's head. While the journey towards the Belvian capital continues, said Crown Prince is in his chambers trying to figure all of this out. The young man's name is Cyril Regar III, and he's going to be one of the only rulers to come into power because of an assassination of his father. It's a rare thing in Gaia. Rulers are usually never assassinated during times of war simply because the security is too high. That is why Cyril's situation is unique. This is going to be a rough transition for the young prince, but it's just the beginning of his journey. I sit in my chair in my chambers, going over the many papers, and a realization dawns on me. Father never prepared any of us children for the reins of the kingdom. Now even me, and I'm his oldest. My little sister was the light of his life, and if given a choice, he'd have given the kingdom to her. In a way, I'm grateful for the assassination. In another way, I'll find out who did this and take them out myself. My suspicions are immediately on Jackson, but there were many nights my father had meetings with a cloaked man in a hood via hologram. This is enough to open my eyes and not completely jump on the thought that this is Jackson's doing. My prince, much of the nobility wishes to call a meeting to discuss the next proceedings regarding the state of the throne. Our palace's head butler notifies me of the coming shitstorm. One that I don't wish to deal with. All the kingdom's nobles are going to use this as an opportunity for claims that shouldn't be dealt with right now. I hate politics, and I hate the fact that I have to clean up my father's mess. I loved my father, and I love my kingdom. However, he didn't know how to rule it, and he didn't teach me the little he knew about ruling a kingdom. Tell them to wait at their estates until the peace talks are over. They're all wanting to have cockfights on whose land is whose. I'm not in the mood to deal with that. The butler lowers his head in a bow and leaves the room. I sigh and set the reports down. The sheer amount of debt the kingdoms are in is absolutely insane. Not to mention the fact that our treasure vault is practically empty. Ever since the day Slayer Zirn paid the palace a visit and threatened my father, everything for our kingdom has gone downhill. I wouldn't put the chance that the Almighty Father made sure all this happened. The choices of gods are above me, especially the top Almighty Father. I'm not blind, though. My father was too deluded to believe he'd have all this shit happen, that this was going to be the downfall of our kingdom. I have one thing my father didn't have. Wisdom, and that's because I watched every one of his mistakes and learned from them. So maybe I am better off. Chapter 296, The Festival I. Sally is in the perfect gown. One that doesn't make her stand out, but one that looks great on her. We aren't taking our hoods, and that puts an edge of worry in me. It's going to be okay, though. We'll be looking like regular festival goers, just like everyone else. This is the first time I'll be going to a festival. Sally and I are standing side by side in the bathroom, looking into the mirror. She tells me something, I figured. I reach over and wrap my arm around her shoulder and bring her in. Sarah, a small blush spreads across her face. I've never been to anything even close to a festival. I'm going to be a little lost at first. We're going to remember this night forever. It'll be a date that regular people have. That's something that I want, cause our journey together has been anything other than normal. There are moments when I think about having a normal journey. One where I'm not this powerful, and I still meet Sally. That's a dangerous thing to think about, so I don't spend much time thinking about it. Those that know why it's dangerous won't need an explanation. Sally's arm wraps around my abdomen and squeezes me in return. We look great together. There is a height difference, but people will be so caught up in the festivities that no one will pay attention to us. I like that thought. I wonder what my mom would think if she could see me right now. I can only imagine how beautiful she'd be in a dress or gown. I stay silent and let her speak. Listening is one of my strong suits. Do you think they ever regret what they did? What my family did to her? That isn't something I can answer. If they were so willing to go that far, I doubt that anyone with actual power in her family cares. Perhaps some branch members or servants. Not anyone that gave the order. I don't know, Sally. I can't comprehend the cruelty needed to do that to one's own child. In a way, I have answered. Not a direct one, but she can read into it. It's on your mind a lot. Isn't it? She slowly nods her head as we look into the mirror, holding each other. We've gotten revenge on the James family, but the people who sent her mother and subsequently her there are still alive. I have a question for Sally, one that I don't want to ask. It seems fitting with all the questions she asked me. What do you intend to do once everything is done? I have to head back to the kingdom of Pleer for a quest to free all the slaves in that kingdom. I'd understand if you didn't want to, but I'd like you to help me. We can put an end to a lot of bad things together. She leans her head on my shoulder and smiles. I know she wouldn't leave me if I didn't give her a reason to. However, once we're done here, she might want to leave all this behind and start a new adventure with me. She takes in breath and slowly rocks both of us in a slow, easy motion. A part of me wants to do something else after we're all done here, but I know there are thousands out there suffering as I did. I intend to free the slaves alongside you, cause this is where I belong. It's nice to hear something like that. To hear the woman that you love tell you she belongs with you. I tilt my head down and to the side and kiss the side of her head. The festival should be starting soon, and that means we need to get a move on. While Sarah and Sally make their way out of the inn and towards the festival, the Elven Queen and her advisors are in a meeting at the moment. The Elven Queen and her spies have been keeping tabs on important targets. Namely, Sarah and Sally. The discussion of this meeting are about everything the spies know and have come to figure out about the targets. The Elven Kingdom is known for its amazing spy network. The capital of the Elven Kingdom is only open to the noblest and rich of Gaia. It isn't an easy place to get to. I look around the table and see the richest of my people. The ones connected to the world outside my land. Our main subject today is the findings my spies have come up with. My queen, I understand that you are watching certain people. But how do we play into this? We're all just riches traders and merchants. Only about 40% of your council is true nobility in these lands. One of the greatest merchants to ever live speaks up. His name is Zernail, and he's one of the eldest elves in the entire Elven society. He was alive and making moves when my ancestors were on the throne. I've taken his advice many times, and I respect him a great deal. The wisdom he carries about the world is something that I desperately need. Zernail, my spies can only do so much. I've lost track of the targets near the city of James. I need to know if any of you could have any information on where Slayer Zirn and Salyandra Orvalo are located. You're all more connected to the world than any royal blood is. I need your guidance on this matter. Many old Elven faces adopt thinking expressions. It made me mad when my spies lost a visual on Slayer Zirn. The only thing we know for certain is he headed in our direction. I can assume that he and Salyandra are on their way here. For revenge, most likely. The reports about what happened in the city of James are disturbing. Only a former female slave would induce injuries like that. While many of us in this room are deeply connected, Slayer Zirn isn't just a regular person we can find. Due to being able to fly, he's able to cover great distances, and it's unknown how fast he is. Zernail begins to bring up the very problems I've been facing in this endeavor. Slayer Zirn is required if I want to secure the Elven race as untouchable. I need him to secure the legacy of my people. I know this isn't some target. Slayer Zirn is, for all intents and purposes, a god. While he's still young and lacks that power, the potential for it is there. The royal Elven family having offspring with Slayer Zirn will grant us ultimate authority and rights. It's the only way for us. We've come this far because we strive for such giant goals. The gods must spit upon me and my actions, but this is the future. I know it. All the people at this meeting are quiet, internally debating if they would join in my search. I don't blame them if they refuse. I'm trying to mess with the fates and destiny of gods I can't begin to comprehend. I'm sorry, my queen, I'm not brave enough to tangle with such powers. I'd rather stick to my trade and leave the greater wills of our world to themselves. Zernail rejects the offer. I was hoping that he'd be willing to help. In many ways, what I'm doing is suicidal, but I've come to terms this will cost me my life. One of my daughters will bear the child of Slayer Zirn, and a new bloodline will be born. We'll be a divine race in blood, not just in name. I understand, Zernail, the future of the Elven race is going to be something that no one will be able to affect if I can succeed. Many condemn my actions, but I want to secure the legacy of my people. Everyone in the room understands but begins to reject the idea one by one. Seeing that the risks far outweigh the benefits. Soon, no one I asked to come here has decided to help. I look at my two daughters as we're the only ones left in the room. This is the challenge we're taking on, and now they see how alone we are in our quest. Don't worry, daughters. We have time on our side, remember that. I'm trying to secure this as fast as I can, and the fastest is to eliminate Salyandra. Once she's out of the picture, everything will be much easier. Hopefully, we pick up their trail again. And we don't lose it this time. Chapter 297, the festival too. Sally walks down the road with me, and, I'll admit, it's nice to be free of wearing my hood. There are people dressed similar to us, and we blend in. Sally has her elbow locked in mine as we travel the road and see the decorations and stalls. I see players trying to buy things from some festival stalls, but they're being rejected. They stick out. Not wearing proper attire can do that. Do you think we can try one of the games? Sally lets out a barely audible voice, and attached to it is a question. I don't have to think about it long. My eyes meet hers, and the same look that always captures my attention is given to me. My smile spreads across my face against my will. I think we should play every single game we can. Let's make some great memories, Sally. I unlock my arm from hers, and I hug her with my arm instead. I pull her closer, and as I do, her embarrassed reaction makes my heart flutter. You and me were more than just lovers, I never officially asked, but will you be my girlfriend? I whisper right above her ear as I'm bent down so only she can hear me. Her rosy cheeks and pointy ears are both performing their unique quirks. Her ears twitch just a little when she's really embarrassed or excited. I'd love to be your girlfriend. Can I ask you something? She's talking in a low whisper, and I give her a little squeeze in confirmation. Will you be my boyfriend? She's successfully caused me to have a blush myself. It's a strange feeling. It's a nice feeling, though. I tilt her head up with my hand as we stop in the road and people pass us by. I look into her beautiful blue-green eyes. I lean forward, and our lips meet. The kiss is gentle and free of extra movement. It's calm and easy. Our eyes close, and we sink into the fulfilling sensation that it provides. At least, I think she's going through the same thing as me. I pull away, but before we can disconnect, she moves with me, so we stay kissing. I place my hands on her shoulders and carefully separate us. I watch her eyes flutter open, and she gives me a look that conveys many emotions. Ones that I feel too. I hold my hand out, and she quickly grabs it. Time for us to try out these games. While Sarah and Sally continue having fun at the festival, Hayley and Jasmine are in the process of trying to get some sleep. Having filled their stomachs, it's time for rest before heading out to the southern border of the Elven kingdom. Hayley and Jasmine have come a great deal together in their travels. They found each other to be quick friends after Hayley found Emerald. They met for the first time shortly after that. Hayley is racking her brain with questions and problems that would make any person when trying to sleep. It runs in the family. The ceiling above me is being lit up by the gentle flicker from the fire in the fireplace. I have a hard time sleeping from time to time. Ideas and thoughts keep me awake, and they mess up my sleep more often than I care to admit. Sarah has the same problem that I do. There were nights where we'd talk and try to pass the time. You can't sleep either. Jasmine's soft voice comes from my side and interrupts my reminiscing. Her reason for having a hard time sleeping is nightmares from her past. That'd keep me awake as well. I respond with a gentle hum, and she stays silent. What's your brother like? You don't really talk about him. I don't respond immediately, mainly because I don't know how to broach the subject. She doesn't know that Sarah is Slayer's Earn yet. I'm not sure how she'll respond. She's religious and follows the Church of Light. In her unique way. The only one I know anything about is Emerald. Speaking the name of her green-striped tiger cub causes her to pop up from under the sheets. Emerald makes her way onto my chest and lays down. I reach my arm up and start to scratch behind her ears. She's purring in a fluffy ball, and it helps me relax too. My brother is unique. He's someone that many would consider inflexible. Well, that's not exactly the right word. He's always sure of his choices, and everything always goes according to his plans. It's amazing to see, never seen anything like it. Sarah is hard to understand unless you spend a lot of time with him, and if you try to draw conclusions early, you'll be wrong. He's not like other men. He's confident and sure of every one of his choices. Jasmine might be able to understand him after spending time with him, but it'll be hard to communicate with him after meeting him. He's gotten easier to talk to since he's met Sally, but the hard exterior is still there. That doesn't sound like you at all. She starts laughing as she finishes her comparison. While it does frustrate me, I crack a smile too. It's funny in a way. What about your mom and dad? Little brother too? She's full of questions tonight, isn't she? It'll take a long time to describe them, but neither of us can sleep. Maybe this can help. I should start with Marcus. He's going to be the easiest to explain. My little brother's name is Marcus. He's the only child still with mom and dad. He's much younger than Sarah and me. He's still developing his personality and ego, but I can tell he's closer to being like Sarah. Not exactly, though. Mom and dad are probably the hardest ones to explain. Mainly because it's hard to about mom and dad. While mom and I reconciled, she's still emotional. Overly so, and dad spoiled me rotten, never knew how to say no to me. It caused a rift between mom and dad. While talking about my family is bringing good memories, there's an echo of pain. My mom and dad are great people but were foolish deciding to have 3 kids despite the financial situation in our home. My dad treated me like a princess, and it didn't have a great effect on my development. It caused a major problem between my mother and me. There was a point that I was almost thrown out. We've moved past that, but it was rough in the middle. Thinking back, there was a lot of blame on both sides. Well, all 3 sides. Dad spoiling me didn't help. Jasmine chuckles at my story. It has a sound of understanding. I'd have loved to grow up with a family. I was separated from mine a little after my 6th birthday. I was soon captured and sent into the slave market a little after that. I don't know where my family is, and they probably think I'm dead. I barely remember their faces. I wonder if they'd accept me after all the things I've been through in my life. This is the first time I've heard this story. It's incredible to see that she's come so far after everything she's been through. I'm honored to see it and be a little part of it. I move my head slowly and look at Jasmine. The girl my brother is traveling with was a slave too. She's half elf and was a slave to the James family just like you. Sarah has really fallen for her. Jasmine darts her head at me and sits straight up. She has a look. One that's questioning the truth of my words. Why is that surprising? Sarah is different. Being an ex-slave doesn't bother him. It's really admirable. I've never seen him look at a woman like he does. Sally. She moves her gaze from mine and looks in front of her. She curls her legs up and is in the fetal position. She's thinking about something really important. Do you think that I could ever find someone who'd look at me that way, accept my past and look at the real me? When people learn, they look at me like I'm a leper. It's not something that I can ever understand, but there are people out there. I reach over and rub her back in support. I'm looking forward to meeting him. A grin gently spreads across my face. I watch a tear fall from her eye, and I hug her. She needs one right now. Chapter 298, The Festival 3. Jasmine is a strong girl with a lot of amazing qualities that make her special, and any guy would be lucky to have her. She's having such a hard time being trapped with the thought and feeling that you're never going to be loved because of your past will eat away at you. Just like I'm watching it eat away at her. She's sobbing her eyes out and can't stop crying. All I can do is hold her and be her friend. Hayley, why did this happen to me? Her sobbing chokes up the words and makes it harder for her to communicate. She's in that dark place right now. I can't answer that question for her, and no one will. The life she suffered isn't something many people will ever experience. Not being able to connect to that, I don't even want to imagine myself with the life she's had. Listen, Jasmine, I don't have the answers. No one has the answers. I hate that you've had a life like this and that I can't fully understand, but I promise, one day, you'll find the person that accepts you and loves you as a woman. My words bring little comfort. Her sobbing slowly eases up as time slowly goes on. I rock her in my arms as the heat in the room continues at a steady temperature, thanks to the fire providing the warmth. I'm so sick of everyone seeing me as an ex-slave like I'm a fucking blight. Her sobbing gets harder, and she screams into her knees as she buries her face. You never know when trauma from the past can hit you. It can come at any moment if certain things are met. Talking about my brother and Sally's relationship is what brought this on. I should have been more considerate with my words. I didn't think it'd have this effect, but that's my own fault for not being considerate. I lay my head on top of hers and let her cry into my chest. She's my best friend, and it's hard to see her like this. I'm glad I was a part of the murder of the James family. Who knows how many people they've hurt and destroyed? How many people have ended up like Sally and Jasmine? It makes my rage and anger boil. You can let out as much pain you want. You've been burying it really deep inside, haven't you? Making sure that the world never sees, 'cause you're afraid of how they'll react. She hugs me tighter and lets out a scream into my chest. While Hayley supports Jasmine in her fragile state, Sarah and Sally are having fun. They're playing every game that the festival offers and eating all the rare foods you don't see outside the festival. There are other players at the festival trying to enjoy it too, but they aren't getting the same treatment since they stick out. The players that are at the festival are still in their gear and reek of blood and guts from farming monsters. Sarah was smart to plan for blending in, and no one is wiser to the fact that Archangel Michael's son is walking around and having fun at the festival. I watch as Sally wins another game against me. My pride as a competitive person is taking major hits right now. I'm struggling to find a single thing where I have a relative shot at winning. I'm not used to playing these types of games. For everything you're great at. I'm glad there isn't something you are good at. As Sally says those words, I realize something very important. This is a date, not a competition. I'm not supposed to be winning. I'm supposed to be having fun. The serious winner side of me really came out, but now he's gone. I concede trying to win a game, but that's okay. Sometimes, you win when you lose. My prize for all my losses, it's the smile that's on Sally's face. She's very pleased with the fact that I can't get a single win on anything we play. I'm glad you're finding satisfaction in my defeat. It won't last long, 'cause I'm winning this next game. I didn't win. I lost worse than usual. Her laugh bubbles up, seeing the expression on my face. I have to use every ounce of willpower to resist grinding my teeth and throwing my hands up in the air, and cursing. If I do that, it'll draw attention. So I suppress the urge and look at Sally. She's wiping away a tear from her eye. Her laughing comes to a stop, and she walks up and hugs me as she buries her face in my chest. She lifts her head, and I look down to see her looking at me with love. We've played every game at the festival, and the play the city is putting on isn't till tomorrow. How about we go back to the inn? Her voice is soft and hesitant. I see her move her eyes away from mine in embarrassment. I'm not dense. She's alluding to something else. I pick her up in my arms, and she lets out a small leap. She covers her mouth as she thinks it's something to be embarrassed about. I like that idea, Sally. Relax, and I'll carry you tomorrow. We'll get all dressed up and watch the play. She smiles, and I can't help smiling back. I slowly carry her back to the inn and up to our room. She lays on the bed, and I turn around towards the fireplace. I walk up to it and set it up. Tonight is supposed to be another cold night. I look behind me, and Sally is already working her way out of her gown. While the events progress with Sarah and Sally, the church is in an emergency meeting. The meeting is to discuss the possibility of using the weapons that the player scientists have created. The weapon is capable of devastating power and can win this war if used. The question being debated today is, should the weapon be used? It's easy to watch missiles travel through the air and hit their target, but you don't know who's going to die. How many of your own will be caught in the blast? What effects this will have on history? I watch as the Pope tries to rally in the conversation, but too many people are yelling. I sigh and lean back in my chair. I have severe concerns, but I can't voice them with so many already yelling at one another. Sometimes, I wish I could just take my blade and end them all. That's wrong, though. What do you mean it's too dangerous? Have you even read the reports? Do you know how many cities have been captured by the monster hordes? The debate at the moment is weighing the pros and cons of the weapon. They're at the point where debating the lives that can be saved is higher than the ones that will die from the weapon's after effects. It's a dangerous road when the conversation steers that way. It's not something I'd authorize, even as saintess. Silence. The Pope's voice roars through the room, and the arguments stop a second later. Even I'm a little taken aback. I've never seen him raise his voice like that. He sighs and pinches the bridge of his nose. There is only one thing we need to consider: people. Can we trust the new people enough to give us this knowledge? Will we be forever changed by their weapon? That's something everyone in the room hasn't considered yet. The new people have given this knowledge to us for only the price of their protection and the means to create more. Their minds are devious, and their creations are evil. I don't trust them, and I never will. If they're capable of making weapons like this, you can only wonder what else they'll make. Pope, while the new people can't be entirely trusted, this weapon will change everything for us. The war, the conflicts, everything will stop. There is a possibility of peace. His words are a poisoned chalice. Forced peace through fear of annihilation. There is an immediate rebuttal to the words spoken, and it's one, not an ounce wiser. I close my eyes and try to drown out the rising arguments again. This debate is going nowhere and the weapon's fate isn't going to be decided today. I open my eyes just a little and I can see the disappointment on Alex's face. His retirement is taking longer than he ever wanted it to. Since a new person is going to be selected to take his spot. It's horrible, but it's out of our hands now. That's months from now. There is still time to end this war before that happens. Chapter 299, The Festival 4. I rustle under the sheets and run my fingers through my dark hair. Sally is resting beside me and using my free arm as a pillow. We really wore ourselves out this time. It was more passionate than the other times. I look up at the ceiling, and my mind and body are completely relaxed. The stress of planning and staying hidden is gone for the time being. Sally rustles more and moves closer. She presses her body against mine, and we share our warmth on this cold night. The fire went out a while ago, so this is the alternative. It calms me when she holds me like this. I don't know why. The play the festival is putting on tomorrow will be a first for me. While the Ancients' world had in-game festivals in the past, I never went to one. I heard that plays are different at every festival you go to. There's going to be a unique play at this festival too. Sarah, I'm cold. Sally isn't affected by the cold, since her class is Winter's Wrath. She wants attention and more physical contact. I can do that. I reach my arm over and wrap her fully in my arms. She's not cold, but she snuggles into my body and wraps her legs around my waist. I feel her plant a kiss on my chest and press her body against mine in a rhythmic way. I thought you were too tired to keep going. She hums into my chest and looks up at me with relaxed and tired eyes. She really does look tired, so she must want a snuggle buddy. You know, we can actually sleep in tomorrow in an actual bed too. When was the last time we did that? I think the last time we got to sleep in was when we were visiting Amelia in Zenith. Sally hums in response, and I take that as we're going to sleep in for sure. Sally lifts her face out of my chest and lets out a small sigh. I'd like that a lot, Sarah. I'm really tired from all the fun we had at the festival, and well, you know, I do know, what we've done in this bed has been more exhausting, in my opinion. When do you think Hayley and her friend are arriving? I know it's only been a day since we got here, but shouldn't we be worried if they're taking too long? I run my fingers through her hair and think about it. Hayley can take care of herself, and I know she'll be perfectly fine. She'll get here when she gets here. I love how she's concerned about Hayley and Jasmine. It speaks to her character how much she's willing to care even though she hardly knows them. I'm sure they'll get here soon. It's not like we're really in a hurry. I like this downtime. We have to relax and have some actual fun for a change. Hayley and Jasmine can take longer. We won't have privacy like this for a while once they get here. Sally lays her ear against my chest, and I know she's listening to my heartbeat. I'm getting pretty tired, so it's time to catch some Zs. While Sarah and Sally sleep after today's events, Hayley and Jasmine are on a similar path. Jasmine has cried all her remaining energy out and is sleeping calmly. Hayley is still being kept up by her thoughts, mostly all the things Jasmine has said. Jasmine hasn't revealed everything about herself, and Hayley's learned some new information. It's hard to sleep when you find out something that affects someone you really care about. Jasmine is a special girl who's had a hard life and is trying to fix it. Hearing what Hayley heard can and will keep you up at night. I try to force myself to sleep, but nothing is working. I just can't sleep. Jasmine has been through some serious shit, and I don't know how to help her. I don't think there is anything I can do to help her. I lean up, remove the sheets, walk over to the fireplace, stoke the fire, and put some more wood on. I sit down and on the cold floor and let the fire warm me. I can't believe people can be so cruel. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. They really have taken everything from her. I didn't even know they could do that with magic. Jasmine's has lost her ability to conceive a child. The James family used magic to make her permanently infertile. She'll never have a child of her own. When she does find that right person, she'll never be able to have a child with him. I lay on my side with the fire to my left, and an idea crosses my mind. I don't know if Sarah can, but I wonder if he'll be able to heal or undo the damage done to Jasmine. If there is anyone that could, it's Sarah. I don't know the full extent of his abilities, and I'm not going to put the possibility of him not having a healing skill to rest. Jasmine's revelations aren't the only thing keeping me up. I've been thinking about everything that's happened since Sarah started playing the Ancients world. Everything since we got stuck here. He knows far more than he's letting on. Normally I wouldn't question much about what my brother does, but I feel as though he's played some part in the way this has turned out. I don't know if he's done it intentionally, but I know my brother. He's hiding a lot, and the majority of the secrets are regarding what he knows about all that's happened. If he knows anything about what's happened and hasn't told anyone, it indicates guilt. He's guilty about something, and it's probably something big. There is so much to support my theory too. He's the strongest player and has the best class. He did this on the first day. That's suspicious. He always seems to know what to do, where to go and how to handle whatever challenges that come his way. It's like he has years of experience, and we've only been playing this game for a few months. Only been trapped for a little bit of those few months. While Hayley thinks about Jasmine and how to confront Sarah on what he knows, the night slowly passes, and the next day is arriving with the sunrise. Sarah and Sally have decided to sleep in and not focus on anything important. They're going to spend the day relaxing until the play at the festival tonight. Sally and Sarah are sleeping hard as the sunlight gently fills the room and warms it up, causing the heat in the blankets to rise to an uncomfortable level. This forces both Sarah and Sally to throw the sheets and blankets off in frustration. Sally stirs beside me and angrily groans out at the uncomfortable heat in the blankets. I'm uncomfortable too, and I proceed to remove them. Sally follows suit, and we're now both free. It's still early, and normally we'd be up and already doing something towards a goal we have. Not today, though. It's break time, and I'm not leaving this bed until I have to use the bathroom or Sally gets up herself. Speaking of Sally, I feel her scoot closer, and she lays her arm across my chest. She moves closer, and I feel her kiss my shoulder. I melt back into the bed and fall into a peaceful lull. The time will go by fast and I don't want to miss out on everything there is to offer. Being with Sally during those moments is something that I can't imagine being without. You need to use the bathroom? "'Cause I have a sudden rush for the need to take a pee and I might as well be courteous and ask if she needs the bathroom first. She lifts her body up and walks towards the bathroom attached to our in-room. She stumbles and is groggy, but she makes it. She doesn't bother to close the door behind her and I hear a stream of water hitting the toilet water. I'm glad that she's comfortable enough to feel she doesn't need to close the door around me. We getting up after all? I hear her ask me a question from the bathroom, and I answer only if she wants to. I'm coming back to bed, she tells me her decision as she walks out of the bathroom and back towards me. Looks like we're going to sleep in for a few more hours and not get up early. I'm down with that. Chapter 300, The Play. Sally and I are slowly moving around the room and trying to get out of the sleepy state. We're both in our underwear, and the fire from the fireplace is out. Mixing that with the sun warming everything up is pretty hot, hence why it's no longer on. What should we eat for breakfast today? The groggy and lack of energy is evident in her voice. I did tell her whenever we get a chance to eat at a player-owned restaurant, we would. I saw some pretty good places on the way in, and I know I can go for some food that you'd only get from Earth. I fold my arms while sitting down in one of the cushioned chairs. You want to go and eat at one of the player-owned restaurants? I like that I can use the term player with Sally now. It's going to make things easier to explain and talk about. She darts her head up, and the excited expression on her face tells me all I need to know. Get dressed, and we'll head out. All I have to do is equip my armor and hood. On the other hand, she actually has to get dressed. So it takes her a bit to get ready. I don't have a problem with waiting. It allows me to relax. She puts on her armor, but I can't help a blush from spreading. Watching the clothes and armor slide against her silky skin and tightly hug it makes my thoughts wander. I shake my head and look away, so I don't get lost in dreamland. Now isn't the time for that. I can't wait to have more of that amazing food. I'm not going to ruin her mood by telling her that it might not be as good as the last place we were at. Every place is different and unique. There's a good chance that this place isn't going to be as good. She finishes getting dressed, and she slowly walks over to me. I stand up to meet her, and she stops. She reaches out her hand and wiggles her fingers. I bring my hand to hers, and we lock hands. This is going to be a great day. Not having any responsibilities is really the way to live. I chuckle as she pulls me towards the door, and we exit our room. We leave the inn, and it's a little past 9, I believe, so everything should be opening right around now. Sally lets me take the lead, and she walks beside me as we're hand in hand. I can see some up ahead. While Sarah and Sally start off their morning with some good food, Hayley and Jasmine are also starting their day. Right now, they're getting the final things they need for their long trip to their destination, which is the same place that Sarah and Sally are in. They're going to be helping Sarah and Sally in their mission to get revenge on the royal family and the Orvalo family. The trip itself will take 5 days by foot, but they're going to be taking a small shortcut via teleportation. They're going to teleport to the closest city that has a teleporter near their destination. I have all the money we need to use the teleport, and I've got the name of the city closest to the city at the southern border of the Elven kingdom. The plan is to teleport to the closest city and then walk the rest of the way. It sucks cause our actual destination doesn't have a teleporter. It makes this trip so much faster. Should we pack for the cold weather in the north? I heard it gets really cold near the Elven kingdom. It shouldn't be too bad, and if it is that cold, we'll buy some weather-appropriate clothes at the place we get teleported to. I give her my answer, and that ends the current topic. We're on our way to the teleporter since we have nothing else to grab. We've already eaten today, and we have a long trip ahead of us after we're done with the teleporter. It'll cut the time by 3 whole days. Once we're done with the teleporter, we'll have about a 2-day journey. If we run, it'll be a day at the most. Jasmine groans at the thought of running, which means we'll be walking most of the time. It's not that bad. Just give it some thought. I receive no reaction other than an annoyed look. Naturally, a person doesn't want to run. It's an uncomfortable state. It's the fastest way, and who knows if Sarah and Sally will be annoyed with us or not. If there's no other option, I guess we can run. I want to take frequent breaks, though I already smell bad due to not having a bath in the last week. I don't want to make it worse. Being stinky is common here, and while it sucks, it's not as self-demoralizing since the majority of people smell bad. We're quickly approaching the teleporter, and I get the gold ready for the price. It's become even more expensive for players to use the teleporters, and it really does suck. It's not something I should complain about. I have more than enough money. I hand the money to the warden of the teleporter, and I input our destination. Jasmine is the first to go, and I follow soon after. I land on a platform, and Jasmine is right in front of me. It's much colder, and there is snow falling where we're at. Let's get those winter supplies. It's pretty chilly this far north. Jasmine nods her head as she shivers. The next stop is a store with what we need. While Hayley and Jasmine prepare for the cold trip to the north, where the city at the southern border to the Elven kingdom is, Sarah and Sally are currently chowing down on some of the best food they've ever eaten. There's a much larger selection at the restaurant they're at than the last one they were at. Sally is making sure she's eating everything she can, and Sarah is following her example. It's not that expensive either since players are the ones working and running this restaurant. It's the best thing going for players right now. I watch Sally shovel food into her mouth, and the way she does it makes her cute. The last time we had a good meal like this was back at the last player-owned restaurant we went to. This is so damn good. I hear her talk through gulps of her drink and mouthfuls of food. I'm not going to bother talking due to a large amount of food in my mouth. I focus back on my food, and many would consider this a heart attack on a plate. Steak, tater tots, eggs, and cupcakes. Something you'd not eat on a daily basis. This is something we deserve. After all the shit we've been through to get to this point, a delicious meal only seems like the right thing to have. I'm only saying this at the moment, thanks to the increase in serotonin and dopamine from the satisfaction of eating good food while in a state of hunger. Can we get another order? I yell towards the front desk, and they start making more food for us. I know I'm still hungry, and I can see that Sally is ready to devour more food. We finish the food on our current plates and have some downtime before the next order arrives. I place my hand under my chin and look at Sally. I'd say I'm about half full. I don't know how players make such good food. I'm so jealous. You got to have this anytime you wanted. I'd be obese if I had that choice. Her words are honest, and I agree with them. If the human race is known for anything, it's how to make delicious food that isn't healthy for you. How much is this costing you? I use my index finger and thumb and show her that it's tiny with the action. It's so much cheaper here. Soon, more food is on our table and we begin to dig in, even more. The food is absolutely amazing. Take your time. Guess the food isn't going anywhere. Our waiter decides to whisper under his breath as he walks away. That's something that I'd consider funny under the circumstances. Once, my father made a joke when I was eating a steak. It was so rare and blood, by the time I was done. He said I'd be more satisfied biting into a cow. That was a good laugh. I modified the wording of the joke. In the moment, it was much more clever.